What up, everybody? Hello, my name is Noah Washington, and welcome back to another The Blerdbinder interview here with Black Press USA. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my personal friend and now award-winning documentarian, Frederick Taylor. How you doing, Fred?
Pretty good, Noah. How are you, my man?
Absolutely fantastic. So let's just get going here. Please take the time, introduce yourself to our viewers, and let them know what you do.
I'm a filmmaker. My name is Frederick Taylor. I am out of Atlanta, but also have done my time in Chicago and Philadelphia and the West Coast, LA as well, and have been forging new ground in Nashville, Tennessee, too. I'm a filmmaker by trade, so that means that I'm just kind of the guy that gets out there with the camera and tells stories. I am a shooter. I think up ideas. I love to write as well, do a little bit of acting, but also directing and editing too. So I have a lot of technical skills too. Enjoy photography, and once again, telling stories, people's narratives. Basically, I'm just a very interesting artist in a sense that I care about human interest. Care about people. That's my big
Well,
thing.
let's just get right into the meat and potatoes. Tell us, you just won an Emmy, man. Tell us all about that. What was your project that got you there?
Thank you. For PBS, through PBS, in affiliation with PBS, KQED out of San Francisco, there is a terrific series that comes on PBS that I recommend that everybody watch. It is called If Cities Could Dance. And you can find it on your Roku or any of the PBS apps that are out there. What they do is they highlight people in all different cities across the country and the cultural electricity that comes from dancing. And I was fortunate enough to be able to shoot and direct the Atlanta version of the show, or the Atlanta episode, and it went on to win a Emmy. And my particular episode focused on a new dance craze out of the HBCU world called JSetting.
Can you explain that to us? What's JSetting?
JSetting is something that, if you think about HBCU and majorette shows, step, things like that, that we've been so incredibly used to in the HBCU diaspora, but that has now moved into the pop cultural realm through, ironically, the LGBTQ community, and specifically men of color in the LGBTQ community. They found a tremendous inspiration in watching these young women dance and gyrate and do their thing, and they thought, wow, we want to be able to do that too. And they've turned it into a cottage artistic industry. So JSetting they have dance battles and all kinds of stuff. It's also known as bucking as well, simply because of the pelvic thrusts that are involved too. They're very much involved in a lot of the pride celebrations and pride parades as well with their dancing, and slowly it's moving into the hip hop and R&B soul area, where other choreographers and dancers are starting to replicate some of these moves as well, all the way up to people such as Beyonce too. This is having a tremendous social impact. It's kind of a high energy type of artistic expressionistic form, similar to what you would associate with like disco or house music as well, which has an infusion of a lot of male African-American or Afrocentric energy with this sort of LGBTQ twist to it as well. So it's a little bit some of that. Which is fascinating, as it challenges some of the predispositions about Black male hyper masculinity too.
What do you believe made you the perfect person to tell this story?
I think one, just being perfectly honest, being African American. I think there are certain stories that come out of the African American community that should be told by African Americans. It's lovely to think that we all can tell each other's stories, and on a certain level we can. But there are certain things that I think that they're far more appropriate and suitable for someone that comes from a particular tribe that you're highlighting. One of the other things is that I grew up with a parent who was a professor at an HBCU university. That's Cheney University right outside of Philadelphia. And my father was also into music, and he was also director of the band at Cheney University as well. So I watched firsthand growing up as a kid this sort of electric sensibility of dance by, female majorette people. I vividly remember sitting in the stands during football games, and there they were. And it did have a very interesting impact on me. They were some of my favorite people, the majorettes or the cheerleaders and things like that would know all of these different steps. The next twist is that I had an uncle who was a part of the LGBTQ community and was a dancer. He was an original Soul Train dancer on the south side of Chicago as well, my mother's brother. He's no longer with us, but he had a huge impact on my life as well, as far as the LGBTQ community is concerned too. So that really sort of put me in a place of being able to get it and understand. Originally, I'm from the south side of Chicago, and the gentleman that runs the Atlanta Dance Champs, which is the dance group that I highlighted in the documentary, his name is Leland Thorpe, and Leland is from Detroit. And so Leland and I had a lot in common about, coming from places that are highly urban areas from the Midwest too. So we bonded on that level as well. So there was just a lot in common with everybody in getting together and being able to share. And so to answer your question, the reason why I was there was my ability to be able to share. And that's what people bring to the mix as artists and filmmakers sometimes, when you're telling very specific stories about communities and someone from that community is the storyteller. You're able to share. It's far more communal. It's less scientific. It's less documentary driven, and it's closer to something that replicates or mirrors the truth.
Hmm.
Can you? I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, Noah? I think I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here in hearing you. I can continue talking. I just got a note from you that says, tell us about some of your future projects. The future uh, looks bright, to be perfectly honest. Winning an Emmy helps you to get into more rooms with people that can help push your career along as well. So that's been pretty exciting. So it's helped me with some of the client-based work, the work that sort of makes it economically sustainable to be a creative artist. And also, I've been working on some new projects that revolve around culture and politics, and specifically some of the things that we've gone through in America over the past several years and even just the past several months. as well. So it focuses on race, culture, gender equity, COVID, the healthcare system, public policy, things like that as well. So right now, the project I'm focused on is a project called Where is America the Beautiful? That's been the latest thing I've been working on. But that's kind of pretty close to being up to speed. I have another project called Trump's Children, which is a small documentary web series about kids and how they feel about these past 4 years, which is pretty fascinating as well. And then a long-standing project I've been working on about a kid who's transgender who I've been following around since the age of 9, and the kid now is 14. And I'm going to Alabama next week to shoot a commercial about Alabama tourism, and then I'm going to help produce a film short about a young man in the LGBT community who is coming out as a person of choice with his life to his father. Um, I plan on continuing to have a foothold in Atlanta, but the world has changed through technology that I've realized that it's important for me to have relationships in other places and have sort of connection points and tentacles. LA, of course, is one of those places, but honestly, I'm very much intrigued with some of the middle tier states and some of the flyover states that have high populations of urban people as well, specifically Nashville, St. Louis, Kansas City, and of course, Chicago. So it's not only just in America, to be perfectly frank, it's the ability to reach past America and move into the rest of the world as well. I'm very interested in my ability to be able to reach places like Africa, Asia, and Latin America as well. So the big picture involves global domination. Yeah, commercial film is a part of the mix because commercial film plunges the deepest into the social conversation that surrounds many marginalized groups. Right or wrong, fair or not, it is what it is. So it's being able to navigate in that space and being able to, shed some light on some very important subjects and issues, and at the same time being able to entertain and reach people. Unfortunately, a lot of people that come from marginalized communities, their only source of content is through the commercialization aspects of it and the sort of Hollywoodization aspects of it. There's not as much of an independent scene that's there for programming for people in marginalized communities. So um, dealing with the big boys, as they like to say, is just a par for the course. It's just something that you have to do in order to get your message out there. So I've accepted that and have really been trying to figure out how to navigate in that space as well. So yes, commercialism, Hollywood, it's right there on the horizon. LA, there's no question about it. I just got accepted into a LA-based film festival, the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, for another piece that I've done called Pre-Existing Freedom. And I'm going to probably have to try to get to LA to be there for the screening as well. So there's opportunity in the commercial world as well, especially being a filmmaker of color. You just have to know how to navigate it. You can't let it swallow you up. I do work with other people. My only caveat with working with other people is that they're focused on doing something meaningful, and they're focused on doing something that's more in the bigger picture, and also the process. I'm a very process driven person. I don't worry as much about the results because the results I cannot control or change in many instances, especially being a person of color and coming from a marginalized community, but I can control the process. So creators that have a sensibility about the process and being able to have a command of the process, and that has to do with the writing and the shooting and the directing and the editing and the production and all this other stuff that sometimes people overlook. As long as they've got a real respect for that, I'm very open to working with them. I have many heroes, actually, and there are many people that inspire me. Some of them are within the artistic realm, and some of them are not at all. Um, One of my greatest inspirations has been Jean-Michel Basquiat as an artist. And then, from a political standpoint, believe it or not, Thurgood Marshall. He always had a really great quote that I loved, like, don't let the good be the enemy of the great, or don't let the great be the enemy of the good, however you want to see that. That in many instances, in walking this path as a marginalized person, you don't always have to be perfect. You just have to be on the path. And I think that that's extraordinarily important as well. I know a lot of filmmakers of color, and they just so desperately want to be perfect, and they want to be right, and they want to get all of their points out there all at once in one film, or sometimes just in one scene alone. And they have a tendency to be preachy and talky. And I'm not really like that. I'm more of a person who likes to present a thought or an idea or a belief system and leave it where it lay, and allow someone the opportunity to take it in and figure it out for themselves, what it really is or what it's really all about. You gotta Change comes with parties meeting in the middle, both parties leaning in. If it's just constantly you're leaning in and they're leaning back and they're not really doing anything, I think that's a categorical waste of time. So not everybody is an audience to my particular sensibility. My particular sensibility revolves around, gender equity and equality and diversity and things like that. And not everybody is really particularly interested in that. A lot of people have benefited from the inequality or the inequity that has existed in our society for hundreds of years.
Wow, that's absolute. Wow, you're speaking to not only Black entertainment, but to Black history as well. And it's,
Sure.
I've already said the word profound once today, but I'll say it again. It's profound.
I think that they're tied together, Noah. And I can only speak as a Black person, but as a Black person, so much of who I am as a person has to do with my history as a people. When I think about something profound, I'm gonna make you laugh here for a second. During the pandemic, I reread the book Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington because I was just kind of killing time. I had stopped, I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't do anything. So you get tired of watching Netflix and Tiger King and all that crap. And, I started going back into Black history and started reading, texts from great Black people of the past. And there's this one particular part in the book where Booker T is talking about he has to walk this horse from one plantation to the other at night. And he's like 11, 12 years old, and he's super scared because he knows the system is flawed. He has to do this because he's been told to do this, because he was born into slavery, and that's his job, and he's learning how to do his job within the context or the construct of society. But he knows that he realizes he's Black with a horse, and he's going from one plantation to the other, and there's this weird neutral zone when you're a slave and you're off the plantation, because people are like, well, who are you, what are you doing here, who owns you, and all kinds of terrible things can happen. And that was the first time that I think, I'm not speaking for Booker T, but to me, this revelation of like, oh my God, this is how the world is working. In contrast to all of the hopes and dreams and belief systems a child would have. Children are born into, an endless amount of positivity and hope. And then it's society that comes in and starts knocking these things down. And it's remarkable that, Booker never allowed that to happen to him. He kept that same sensibility throughout his entire life. He's always was that kid taking that horse from one plantation to another, in spite of the fact that he was afraid. He knew that this is what he needed to do to get to the next opportunity in his life as well. Courage is everything. And so Black history for me is my go-to, or my Bible, so to speak, about finding courage, whether it's Booker T. Washington or, Harriet Tubman or Sojourner Truth, or we can just keep going. I mean, the names are endless. And for me as an artist, I need that type of fuel to keep me moving in the direction that I want to go in. So Black history is essential. And every Black artist or filmmaker that I meet that doesn't know Black history, I just start screaming at them. Like I just lose it. I don't think you can be a Black artist and not know your history. I think it's impossible. I don't, if you do not know your history and you think you're a Black artist, you are not a Black artist, because you do not know your history, and you need your history to be able to move forward. So much of who we are is what we've come from. And we have a tendency to forget that as we evolve into this illustrious space known as privilege. Privilege seems really nice on the surface, but ultimately it can put you to sleep, and it can keep you from continuing to challenge and pushing yourself forward. And I think this is for all groups, whether you're Jewish American or you're Latino or you're Asian or LGBTQ or whatever. You need to know your history, because I think that's the only way you're ever going to get to higher ground and develop and create new concepts that enlighten and push the narrative. I think right now I have a big problem with a lot of Black music because it doesn't push the narrative anymore. It's very stagnant. And I think one of the reasons that it's very stagnant is because there's a lot of Black artists that do not know their history. And I see a lot of Black filmmakers out there, same thing. I have Black filmmakers all the time. Like, you'll talk about, Gordon Parks or Oscar Michaud or Paul Robeson. They have no idea what you're talking about. And I think that's a sin. Like, I just think that you need to know who these people are, and not just the ones in film, but, Ralph Ellison. You should know who these people are. You should know the stories of these really great people, because you can incorporate them into your ability to create art, or you're just being reactionary based on the trends of the time. And there's just so many Black filmmakers that are just reacting all the time. They see it and they react to it, see it and they react to it, and, not to criticize, artists like Kanye West or whatever, but it's like he's devolved into this reactionary artist. I'm going to shave my head now and wear a mask, and then, everybody's going to notice me. And I'm like, no, that's not how you get noticed. It would serve him well to go reread Up From Slavery. It might inspire him into some other, new art form. There's no art in just reacting to someone else's madness with more madness. That's not even who we are as people. We don't do that. That's not the history that I know as Black people. We did not react to our internment in this country by acting like our aggressors, or our victimizers. We found our own voice inside of that, and so I think that we need to focus more on that. We need to stop, acting like them. I mean, we've become very Orwellian in a sense, like Animal Farm, when all the animals, they get rid of the humans and then the animals start acting like humans. And it's just, sometimes I feel like a lot of Black artists are advocating for us to get rid of all the white people, and then we're just going to start acting like white people. And I'm like, that's not really what this is about. That's not the way we should go about this. So that's kind of where I've been as far as inspiration and things like that. And for me, I always make threats to people, and I'm going to build a time machine and I'm out of here. And I'm going to go hang out, with Baldwin, in France, or Josephine Baker or something like that, people that had guts and that did their own thing. And that's what's so important, doing your own thing. I mean, people might hate Malcolm X, but guess what? He did his own thing. He danced to the beat of his own drum. That's for sure. Muhammad Ali did as well. Maya Angelou did. Toni Morrison did. And we can just keep going. The greatest mistake Oprah Winfrey ever made was that she tried to work with the system. I think she would be literally on top of the world now if she just stayed out of the system. She didn't need the system. Berry Gordy didn't need the system. Bob Johnson, when he ran BET, didn't need the system. We keep thinking that we have to go into the system to be successful, and that is not true. And that has never been true. Just ask Booker T. He'll tell you.
You're speaking truth to your power as a filmmaker.
Right.
And that's something where even in some of the interviews with other filmmakers and actors has not been present, and they have not told their truth. It's been real subjective and even objective. My question to you is, what's the as we, unfortunately we're entering our final few moments, and my apologies to you, the viewership, and you, Fred, for my technical difficulties. What is the long lasting effect you want your art to have?
Number one, it empowers Black people. Okay. I'm not going to lie. There is nothing better in this world when you are able to impact a young Black mind and put them on a path for them to reach their full potential. I'm a product of that. Everything that you see about me that seems so together or articulate or pointed or focused is because of the people that took an interest in me growing up in the community that I came from, or the history or the legacy of my family that, of course, started in slavery, started on cotton fields, started as sharecroppers, but they wanted more. They wanted more. That's what I'm always trying to do, is to show people there's more. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it branches out into other cultures, where I've discovered that the diaspora that I come from is congruent with other diasporas of people who have been marginalized and people who have suffered as well. And then for those that are privileged, it's a realm of enlightenment for them. They just literally don't know. I screened a film in front of a room full of old white people in Charleston, South Carolina, and we talked about civil rights, and I screened a film about a counter sit-in in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and they literally walked up to me after the film was over and said, I didn't know. I lived 40 miles away from Rock Hill for 60 years and had no idea that level of suffering was going on. These people just don't know. And to us, it just seems impossible to believe that there are people walking around in America that don't know that other groups are suffering. Do they, don't they? I don't know. I think there's probably some level of truth to that, but there's also a certain amount of post-traumatic stress disorder people suffer, and they go into denial. They know what happens. It's so traumatic. They just shut down and they don't look at it and they don't see it. And they just don't want to think about it because it's too upsetting. I try to open up those pathways. I try to open up their minds and their hearts to face these things and to let them know that they don't have to face them alone, that we as a people will be there with them. And these other cultural groups who have suffered will be there as well with them. We've all got to walk through the door together, and so ultimately, again, I'm doing the same thing that, Frederick Douglass did, you know, the aforementioned Sojourner Truth and Booker T. Washington and Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi and all this other stuff. I'm just, you know, bringing back what other people have missed from the past. You know, I'm not a, I believe in Black futurism. I am a Black futurist, and that's totally what I'm about. But the irony with it is that you're almost like in the past. It's the past. It's like you're Black to the future because you've gotten in a time machine and gone back to the past, brought back all of this information that people have missed, bring it into the present, and then you're perceived as someone from the future when actually you're someone from the past. And I think that all of our answers, especially for our particular ancestry, they're in the past. We built pyramids, you know, it's in the past. We developed, you know, scientific principles and medicines and all of this stuff that through colonialization was stolen and cannibalized by us. And then they changed our narrative. And now we are in a position to take it back. And sometimes they get a little bit uncomfortable with it. But as far as I'm concerned, they'll be all right. It's like turbulence on a plane. You don't get scared until the flight attendants get scared. So don't get scared. Get back in your seat, put the seatbelt on, put up your tray table, and shut up. It's going to be fine. But you're going to go where humanity needs to go. And like I said, you know, it's the principles that have been in place since the era of Mansa Musa and Timbuktu and all this other stuff that they don't teach in schools. That needs to be taught in schools. So people know what this is really all about. Because you see Blackness everywhere you go on this planet. And my job as a filmmaker is to show that and is to demonstrate that and to show that we will not go quietly into the night. We will not be eradicated, and we are not here for you only on football NFL Sunday. And we're not here just to dunk a basketball. And we're not here just to rap for you. And we're not here to just keep developing new styles and fashions for you because we're the first adopters to everything, whether you're talking about zoot suits, transistor radios, headsets, breakdancing, JSetting, whatever. We're not here to entertain you. We're here to be a part of humanity, you know, and I realize that sometimes that makes people uncomfortable, but I don't care.
So make them uncomfortable. In our final moments here, what would you say to any aspiring filmmakers?
Oh, it's all about you. It's what's in your heart. Trust your instincts and you'll never be wrong. Stop worrying about trends. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Get off of your Instagram. Get off of your Facebook. Stop looking at all of those Black gossip online chat things like Bossip and all this other stuff, and start understanding who you are and what you're about and where you land in all of this and what your belief systems. And if you're lost and you can't figure it out, you're not quite sure how to get started, go read a book by a Black person that lived in the past. There's a ton of them. They'll tell you exactly what to do because that's what they did. And they've left all of these maps and instructions on how to be a Black person. But nobody Black ever reads them and nobody Black ever pays attention to them. You know, if you want to be inspired, go put on, you know, the What's Going On album by Marvin Gaye. You want to be inspired, you want to learn something, go listen to Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. It's out there. You know, go read something that Maya Angelou wrote. I Don't Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Like, there's just stuff. You know, go Google some of James Baldwin's speeches on YouTube. It's there. It's all right there in front of you. So there's no excuse for any Black artist of today to not know what they're doing. There's no excuse. It's all there in front of them. They just got to take the time to be able to do it and stop worrying so much about what everybody else is doing or who's looking at you, or are you hanging out with the right people, or are you dating a Kardashian, or, you know, why did Kanye shave his head? How come Beyonce hasn't dropped an album during the pandemic? Stop worrying about that stuff. Go investigate your past and it will catapult you to the future. Period.
Man, Mr. Fred Taylor, I think you spoke a lot on true power and the nature of it in the Black community, and in the larger Americana landscape. And that's what our viewership needs to know. That's what they come to watch, and they come to listen for it, to gain more knowledge for the world and whatever endeavors they go on. So I want to say, please, thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate all. Once again, congratulations on your Emmy. And where can viewers find it, or is there a place for us viewers who didn't catch it on PBS and its original airing to see it?
You can go to tomorrowpictures.tv, tomorrowpictures.tv, and it's right there on the front page. You can click on it and you can watch it there as well. If you've got Roku, you can go watch it through the PBS app as well. And you will be able to see it and experience it, along with a lot of my other work as well. And if you want to learn more about me as a filmmaker, it's the funky name that you see right there in front of you, .com. Just type that name into Google, the one that you see, you'll get everything. That's it. That's the cheat. Just say, boom, throw that into Google. I'm number one. I'm the number one alphanumeric matrix Frederick on the internet, on the planet Earth. You'll get everything that you want to know about me. And once again, even that is an example of navigating the system. I was like, I can't be in the white man's Google because I'll never go to the top. I'll never go to the top. You know what I mean? It's like, think about it. Everybody, you black person, you go type your name into Google, you ain't coming to the top. Because most of us got slave names anyway, so we ain't gonna come up to the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. Okay. We're gonna have a conversation about it. Right. Anyway, we get suppressed all the time. We can't even be on Google. We gotta pay. You gotta pay to be number one on Google. Okay. Who got that kind of money? Nobody. Okay.
Daisy.
Yeah. So I rearranged my name, and I did that a long time ago. And when I did it, people thought I was weird. They don't think I'm weird now, but I'm the number one Frederick on Google. So whatever, Yeah. And I got it for free,
all the way to the bank.
Right. We trying to be number one on a budget. We don't got that kind of disposable income. And whatever we got that's disposable, we got to put it towards the cause. Our extra money, our extra dollars go towards the future. We got, you know what I mean? Like, we just obligated, like, it would be nice to sit around under a cabana sipping on some scissor or whatever, but we don't necessarily have that much time to give to that. The sacrifices that we make now are for future generations. We're sacrificing time for future generations. The people behind us, they sacrificed in certain instances their lives, welfare, social standing. They risked real stuff. We need to, as people, give back time. And then in the future, maybe our future generations will be in a position where they don't have to sacrifice their lives and they don't have to give up so much of their time, and that they will be able to enjoy the privileges of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the Western Christian culture known as the United States of America.
Amen, brother. Mr. Frederick Taylor, thank you so much. And please remember to check back with us at the Blerdbinder. We have some exciting stuff coming for you. Remember, please go visit Tomorrow Pictures. Go visit fredericktaylor.com, or is it just Frederick?
Frederick.com.
As seen on the screen.
As seen on the screen, freefrederick.com. That. Go there. Or just Google that and you'll get everything. Twitter, all that stuff.
Great. Yeah. All right. Thank you. You have been with the Blerdbinder. Thank you for joining in, and we hope to see y'all next time.
You got it, brother. Take care.
You too.
Yeah.